Welcome back to the ADB ANC Development Dialogues Pathway Out of Poverty. I'm Tony Velasquez, still here at the ADB Briefing Theater. Business process outsourcing firms, or BPOs, have been called the Philippine sunshine industry, but the jobs that it generates are limited. What other industries can the government develop to achieve growth and to provide meaningful employment to more Filipinos?
I don't even have any dream then. I thought I'll just grow old and die farmer.
This farmer's child is now the poster boy of the booming business process outsourcing industry. Sunday Villanueva knows what it means to be poor. He took on countless jobs, from the fields to the construction site, forced to grow up too soon.
Farming, rice delivery, construction, sales rep ako, nag-baker pa ako, dishwasher pa ako sa mga canteen. Tried it all. Kargador pa ako ng paninda.
A young man who could not speak decent English or even turn on a computer, Sunday considers his call center career a fortunate twist of fate.
May nakita akong poster ng TESDA, dun sa may circle mismo. Nakita ko dun free training. Sabi ko, pati ko kaya subukan.
Today, he's a top performer at TELUS International Philippines, earning nearly 30,000 pesos a month, enough to support his growing family. According to a survey by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, revenues from the IT BPO industry jumped 21.9% in 2010 to a record $10.1 billion revenue. This was equal to nearly 4.8% of the country's total gross domestic product then. The industry generated over 500,000 direct jobs and created more than 1.3 million indirect jobs in the country.
Employee satisfaction is the major focus. We are a company that doesn't have any products to sell or market. The only product that we have is our people.
In fact, in 2010, the Philippines overtook India as the call center capital of the world.
By about 7
DTI Secretary Gregory Domingo says the BPO industry has changed the landscape of the Philippine economy and the Filipinos' lifestyle.
That's changing the lifestyle of people, that's boosting our economy, and it's creating a real estate boom in the Philippines as well, in particular in the middle-income condominiums. You're seeing all these new high-rises going up all over Metro Manila and Metro Cebu, and this is being driven primarily by the demand from the call center agents.
If the BPO is called the sunshine industry, another industry, the manufacturing sector, has been called the country's weak spot. But the semiconductor and electronics industries of the Philippines, or SAPE, does not think so.
The electronics industry accounts for more than half of the total Philippine exports. We do employ over 530,000 engineers, technicians, and operators. These are all direct employees, and for every one direct job, there are 7 indirect jobs created.
In 2010, exports grew by 34%. It suffered a decline of 6.9% in 2011. This is primarily due to the decline in the electronics exports. It is, however, expected to snap back and post a double-digit growth this year. The government says it is doing everything it can to prove that even business is more fun in the Philippines.
We try to do roadmaps. We study the supply chains. We look for gaps and try to put policies in place to attract operations that could fill in those gaps in the supply chain. We're trying to improve the business environment so that for business people it becomes very easy to do business in the Philippines. It's more fun.
The government is also looking to boost growth in 2 priority sectors, agriculture and tourism, all geared towards the so-called inclusive growth.
And joining us in this part of the program is Transportation and Communications Secretary Mar Rojas. Also with us, the Deputy Director General Rolando Tungpalan of the National Economic and Development Authority, Professor Emmanuel de Dios from the University of the Philippines School of Economics. And we're also joined by Benedict Hernandez, the President of the Business Processing Association of the Philippines. And with us, Rajat Nag, the Managing Director General of the Asian Development Bank. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this portion of the dialogue. So, Secretary Rojas, let's begin with you. Business process outsourcing, mostly because there's a more liberal atmosphere now for telecommunications firms.
Well, one of the brightest spots really in our economy is the IT BPO sector. Benedict will recall that in 2000, when I started this, there were maybe less than 2,000 people in the industry. And it was a well-kept secret because the companies that were engaged in it saw it as a competitive advantage in terms of lowering cost vis-a-vis their competitors. Basically, what the government did was to get out of the way of the private sector. As DTI Secretary, I convened a strategic development roadmap writing session with the industry itself. We basically focused on 5 things. One is education. Second was the last mile connectivity, because the buildings themselves were not connected to the broadband pipelines. The third was changing the laws. We passed the E-Commerce Act, which secured the rights to the data by those engaged in it. The fourth was perhaps one of the most important steps, which was we amended the way we at PEZA and DTI gave incentives. PEZA was designed to give incentives for industrial parks, meaning for factories. Right? We changed the laws and the rules such that we now gave incentive to locators in buildings or even portions of buildings, because that was where the BPO IT locators would actually want to locate. Not very far off, but actually in the CBD, Central Business Districts. And after having worked on that, we then did the most important thing, which was business development, telling the rest of the world that we were now engaged in this. And what was less than 2,000 people in 2000 is now nearly about 600,000 people, Benedict, today. And after OFW, single largest dollar earner for our country. So this really is a template. No? And I think the one key element in that template that is being replicated now in other industries or in other sectors under Pinoy's government is predictability of policy. We didn't change rules month to month, year to year to suit and the political flavor of the period. No? We didn't change the policies just willy-nilly. There was close consultation with the private sector. They knew that the rules that they came in on would be the same rules that they would operate under, and so their capital followed. And what you have now is not just saliva or laway, but actual real jobs all across our country.
I want to go to the other side of the panel, Mr. Nag. Now, from the ADB's point of view, and this is also what you've come up with in your recent study, if you were to rely mostly just on services, that might not still provide the surge in employment that would be necessary for inclusive growth. But that's not to demean the contribution of the BPO or the services sector. But really, just how much should we rely on services, such as the BPO, and just how much more should we invest in other industries?
Let me make sure that I don't take anything away from the tremendous achievement that Secretary Rojas mentioned and the BPO. But I think we've got to recognize that BPOs provide only 1% of the employment. And they obviously, by the very nature of the industry, employ higher skilled people, people who sort of have the human capital to take advantage of it. So yes, I think Philippines certainly should be very proud of their achievement. We should do more. It's great. It's now the world's largest center, and we're now moving up the value chain, not just call centers, but BPO, medical services, legal services. But the point really is that that is not going to be